it's better to be honest with them up front than it is to try to do it down the road, right? So I've never taken a listing agreement with me on an appointment. I've never pushed for a close at the table ever. So I go, honestly, here's what houses have sold. And then I story tell. I've been through every scenario, dealt with some of the worst people, the worst deals, the best people, the best deals. You want to list overpriced. And then I tell them a story about a client that wanted to do that in the past and how it worked out. And as long as they know what my opinion, then after we get on the market, we can have a conversation and they're easier to reduce the price because they feel like I listened to them and we tried it their way. And then I would say, let me know if you want to work with me. And I know they're going to call in other agents. They would call in other agents. I'd see 3 or 4 signs go up over the next 6 months. And then I get a call that says, Steve, honestly, come get your face on the lawn. I'm tired of dealing with this. And by that point, they just want to get rid of it. So there's no more price this. They just want me to tell them what to list it for and go.
You're listening to the #1 real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories, help you win in your local market today. My name's Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, what's happening? How you doing, bro? Like, life is good in your world, in your Medellin, Colombian world?
It is. I actually just had in between our last podcast and this one, I just had a really interesting conversation with the guy that helps, he's actually going to be on our podcast here in the next couple of weeks. He's a pretty cool guy. But he's doing the same nomad life that you and I are doing right now. But he helps real estate agents with YouTube. And he's got like 400,000 subscribers. He's in Bangkok, but we're jamming. And he's just really cool, like how he created a system to help real estate agents create more video. And I know that, one of the challenges that agents have is lead generation and consistency. And the second challenge that they have is, what do I do with the leads once they're in my hands? And so he's kind of helping tackle the front end of that. So I'm excited to jam with him, and he's got a pretty big network of agents. So should be good for the REA Agent podcast to get in front of more people that we can help.
Pumped, man. Pumped. What else? Like, what else is good in business?
Dude, I just love seeing clients win. I love it when clients come in and they're like, one of our mutual clients, I'm not going to say his name, but he was like, he works with me one-on-one. So he's like, I don't really need to come to the Real Estate Sales Academy calls. And, I get you. So I'm good on the other calls. And I was like, bro, you're asking the same questions that we could be addressing over there. Come to the call. So he started coming to the calls, and guess what, dude? He's booking more appointments. He's closing more deals. He's getting to ask different questions, because when you're in a group of people asking questions, you hear Steve ask a question, you hear Cody, you're like, oh, I didn't ask about this, this, and this. And it sparks you, or you hear somebody say something. So he's just like, I just love getting the text messages where it's like, hey, I just put a deal in escrow, or hey, that one line you gave me got me 2 appointments this week. One's a listing, one's a buyer. And it's like, tell me more. And he, unlike the last call where, our guest was telling us about the brand new agent who's like, well, I got an appointment. Well, tell me about the appointment. I'm going to call him next week and show him houses. Where? I don't know. What's their price point? I don't know. What's this? I don't know. And he's like, dude, you warmed them. It's like somebody loosened up the pickle jar. You were the person who loosened the cap. And the next call is going to be like, hey, do you want to go look at, I would love to look at houses. And where are you looking at? I'm looking in this area. And how much? And you just warmed them up for that person. And it's just so funny because, well, there's a lot of people doing a lot of warm-ups for people that come out of the Real Estate Sales Academy.
I love that.
What about you, dude? I know I've been talking with Sophia about a bunch of things today, and Jackie. What's going on in your guys' world?
Bro, we're just trying to operationalize this free trial that we're doing. I think out of the last 16 episodes, I've been like, bro, like this free trial thing has been like, when Sharon said, he's like, hey, you should run a free trial. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. How do we do this? And so we just brought on another, essentially account manager to specifically handle the trials, because there's so many people. Like originally I'm like, oh, our sales team will handle the trials. That was a terrible mistake. Never put a salesperson as an account manager or as as somebody who needs to handle things. It's just that's a bad idea. And we learned that the hard way. So we hired an account manager to handle the trials and just nudge, realtors to get us their list. It's like you fill out a form and they don't get you the list. You're like, you just nudge them like, hey, get the list. Yeah. So we're having fun, man. It's really cool. We connected a guy today with an investor, and I listened back to the call. Cause like what I love the most is because obviously, we drop the call recordings in the Slack channel, give them feedback. And before we even got an opportunity to give the client feedback, he's like, hey, I just had an amazing call with an investor. I booked an appointment. Can you listen to the call and give me some feedback? I'm like, oh man, like I'm going to like this new client. This is awesome. He's already thinking about what he's saying, tonality, cadence. Like, he
probably does really well too.
Yeah, he's a team, and what was even cooler is he's a team lead. He has like actually a really large team, and he's like, I want to perfect this process first, and then I want to be able to add my team to it. So he's through trial right now and coming in as a new client. So yeah, it's really cool. It's very different process from what we're used to. Where it's like usually like, you tell us where you're going to work with us, we set you up, and then we start calling. So it's kind of like the proof over promise thing that Sarasin preached so heavily, but things are good, man. Life is good. But speaking about, you had brought up just this idea of like people winning, and I
didn't bring up anything, bro.
Hey,
nope.
Yeah,
I actually said in the green room that we should all smoke a joint since it's Friday and it's our last podcast for the day. I said we should all smoke a joint. That's what I said in the green room, which belongs in the green room.
Well, it's no longer in the green room, but we have Steven Sarasin here with us today on the Argent podcast. Steven is
you uncomfortable, Cody,
and I know you love it, but it's like you're a lot to handle on a Friday afternoon. Like you're so much to handle on a Friday afternoon. But
hey, you book in the 4 o'clocks. If you book in a 4 p.m. on a Friday, then you've accepted what comes out of it.
Okay, well. So
Steve's like, fuck it, let's go, bitches.
Let's go. So Steven, why don't you give us a high level overview on like where you're at in the world, and just give us like a 30-second Spark Notes version, Cold Notes version of your real estate career.
Yeah, so got the business like 2016 January. I'm like 1 hour north of Toronto on Lake Simcoe, so a lot of like kind of like cottage country. Grew up like in the country, Tim Hortons crew, stuff like that. Then spent 8 years in Richmond Hill. So got the business 2016, didn't have, the best luck the first year because things were hot. And then, the stress test came out and crushed everything overnight. So learned the hard way, signed up to every program, every coaching company, everything that promised leads and deals that you could possibly do. And then realized years later that I should have listened to some of the advice that I was given from people that have been in the business a long time. Solo agent, just an assistant, and I do a lot of deals, I think.
I want to get into that because like, it's really cool to see everyone's different business models, and different business models work for different people. And like, we were in the green room and you're like, hey, yeah, I just listed 10 properties in the last week. And that is many people's dreams right now, where like, they're like all of a sudden, and like, but maybe you can walk us.
You know what? I gotta say something.
What?
I gotta say, it's so funny. When you have a good process, you can list 1, 2, 3, 5, 10.
Yeah.
10's a lot, but you can list multiple homes really fast. I remember I was talking to somebody last year, and it's just so funny because she's like, I can't talk right now. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I have to cancel my call. I'm like, what's going on? She ended up only staying for 2 weeks, and then she had a blow up and we let her out of her agreement. It was just disaster. But she was like, I have to go list this one house. I was like, okay, what do you need to do? She's like, everything. I'm like, where's your processes? Steve, I'm telling you, is it Steve or Steven? Steve.
Whatever. I don't even know what people call me, but they usually choose one or the other.
Okay. I mean, I could call you a lot of things, but I'm going to play nice because Cody's still here. Cody gets jealous. But a lot of people can't list one home, and you listed 10. So I assume you have some sort of a process behind it.
You know what? I don't. I wish I could say I was better organized, but I just do what needs to be done.
Okay. All right. Well,
We can get into that.
we can get into that later, but I think it's funny that you're still here and not freaked out and canceled the podcast.
Well, let's just say this. An hour ago, I was stranded on an island, like a boat access only island. So I almost thought I'd have to send you guys a pic and be like, I'm legit stranded on an island, not going to make it, but I canceled and rescheduled too many times. So I showed up today.
I love it. Sorry to cut you off, Cody.
No, and like it's so funny. You try to set up the process question, and he's like, "Nah, I don't know the process." But I'm a real estate agent.
But you know what? I guarantee you, when we jump into it, I guarantee you, and this is what Sharon told me about 7 years ago, 8-9 years ago. He's like, Vic, your lack of a process, just so you know, is 97% better than 99% of the people I talk to. He's like, you're just a perfectionist that always is improving. He's like, but is it written down? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you have a process. And I was like, what? It was an eye opener. So I bet you we see that you have more of a process than you think.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll have to find out. But
yeah,
I'm curious. Let's start here. 10 listings all within a week. Like I was trying to go down, like, that doesn't happen for the average agent. The average agent would be lucky to have a listing every 2 years.
Yeah.
What are you doing that you think is allowing you to generate these listings and allowing you to stay top of mind in a market that we were chatting about in pretty much every market across the country?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone's down. Like, we, on the last podcast, we were talking about in the Michigan market, the numbers were down about 22%, and a really large team with hundreds of agents, they're expecting to do around 900 deals this year, where last year they did 1,000. So in a market that is down, and Ontario for the most part is down from what I'm aware of, what are some of the things that you're practicing on a daily basis in order to stay ahead of the curve?
So you know what? I think I'm not in a huge area. The population of the area I work is like maybe 60,000. So for me, I mean, I do list I get a lot of estate sales and a lot of divorce separation. So the more difficult the situation is, the more drama, the more people are going after each other. That's where I come in to kind of settle things up. But I would say, now that I've been in the business since January 2016, reputation is a big one. I will do whatever it takes. If I put a client's house for sale and they're about to, basically get sued or something, then I'm going to have to buy that house off them and resell it. Or like, it just shows I will do anything to get it done. If they can't afford to get repairs done and stuff, I'll do it, get the money back on closing. So I just kind of work with them. It's more about honesty and trust. So I'm honest right off the bat. I won't take overpriced listings. I'm very dedicated. So reputation is a big one, and word of mouth.
A lot of people would say living in a small community is detrimental to having a lot of success. I think what you're proving is that living in a small community is actually, if you do it the right way, allows you to very easily become top of mind. Would you agree with that or disagree?
So you know what, I'll say something, and I've said it in the public on stage before, and you can cut it if you want, but
no, we don't cut shit.
I got into a situation with a girlfriend that I had where her dad passed. Like, I watched him pass away, and her mom was not really in good shape to kind of, raise her. So I moved out of home, and I sold a lot of marijuana. Let's just say,
hey, me too.
Big business doing that. So that's kind of where I built a reputation of knowing a lot of people. When I was younger, a lot of my friends were much older. They were adults. So I matured early. I moved out at 16, and I always kept a good, you could do that back then and have a bad reputation, but everybody liked me. And the smile is what really brings a lot of business, to be honest with you.
So a lot of people think charisma takes you places. And I think charisma opens a door, right? If somebody likes you, they meet you at a networking event. Oh, wow. Super charismatic guy, right? But does that mean they're going to do business with you?
No. And I think a lot of agents have an issue where they think that just because they're licensed, everybody they know should work with them. What I learned very easy on is, even if my parents were to list with somebody else, I would just try to understand why, but I would not, like, I wouldn't even lose anything. I lose deals all the time. I get mostly due to commission, but I lose, like, I just move on fast, extremely fast.
You're super detached is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you always been detached from the sale? Because I think a lot of agents have a hard time being detached from the sale. Because you said something that you're like, I will never take you said, I don't take overpriced listings. So that is very difficult for an agent. And I see this in different Facebook groups where it's like other agents share that same similar type of ethos because they don't want to set the wrong expectation for the sellers. How do you have those conversations where you don't take the overpriced listing? Because in certain circumstances, like I would say 95% of agents are taking overpriced listings and then they're sitting on market for 60, 90, 120 days. How do you have that conversation with the seller? And then if they want overpriced, how did you get them down to understand that what they want is overpriced? Like, are there ever conversations where you can kind of find a happy medium, and how do you find that happy medium?
So normally when I meet with somebody like a seller and we kind of go over comparables and stuff, most of the time, magically their house is so much better than everybody else's. But there's a couple ways. One, if they're really having a hard time understanding it, I'll say, why don't we book? Let's pretend you're a buyer. Let's go see some listings that are listed in the price range you want to sell your house. And you tell me, would you buy your house or would you buy one of those? But normally what I do is I will tell them, look, this is kind of the price that I'm thinking. And if you want to list higher, and if I know the motivation's there, right? If I know they're not just a tire kicking, then I'll tell them we can list it. But if a couple of weeks goes by and we don't get any activity, then that's a sure sign that we're overpriced and we need to come down.
You said something. I want to backtrack a little bit here, and then we can move forward. You said trust and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and I have talked about this. Sharon and I talked about this. Everybody thinks they need to build rapport, charisma, right? It's easy. How do you build trust with your clients? Like, how do you, how would you build trust with an overpriced seller whose house is miraculously 10x better than every other house on the street, even though they're all built in 2007 track houses with no updates and an old saggy roof? But how do you build trust with a seller? Like, what are you doing in a market like now to build trust?
Well, most of the time I would print off comparables and have my presentations and all my folders and stuff. I would show up to the house and I would walk in empty handed. I'd be like, if I walk in with my big suitcase thing on my shoulder, they're going to think that like I'm serious. Like they're going to think that I'm going to make them sign up and list today. But normally what I do is I would just take some comparables and I would just be completely honest with them. Like, it's better to be honest with them up front than it is to try to do it down the road, right? So I've never taken a listing agreement with me on an appointment. I've never pushed for a close at the table ever. So I tell them, look, honestly, and look, here's what houses have sold. And then I story tell. I've been through every scenario that you could be in. I've dealt with some of the worst people, the worst deals, the best people, the best deals. So I just use a story. Look, you want to list overpriced? And then I tell them a story about a client that wanted to do that in the past and how it worked out. And as long as they know what my opinion, then after we get on the market, we can have a conversation and they're easier to reduce the price because they feel like I listened to them and we tried it their way. But normally what would happen when these slow markets would come around and I would get into a situation with sellers like that is I would nicely, give them my advice. And then I would say, let me know if you want to work with me. And I know they're going to call in other agents. They would call in other agents. I'd see 3 or 4 signs go up over the next 6 months. And then I get a call that says, Steve, honestly, come get your face on the lawn. I'm tired of dealing with this. And by that point, they just want to get rid of it. So there's no more price this. They just want me to tell them what to list it for and go. And another thing is I'll normally tell clients, just give me permission to market and advertise your home, get as many people through as possible, as many offers, but you're not obligated to accept any offers. And any money that I'm out from staging or marketing and advertising is out of my pocket. And I don't hold you to any contract. If you want out after a week, then obviously we shouldn't be working together. So it's hard for them not to trust me at that point because they're used to agents coming in, pushing to get the listing. And when they hear someone there that's giving them advice that doesn't seem like they really care, like, I don't have commission breath, as they call it.
Yeah.
I want to dive in really quick here because I want to dissect this for people that are listening to this, because correct me if I'm wrong, if I heard this. You don't push for the listing agreement. You say you can walk away at any point in time and I'm not going to hold you to it. Essentially, you're doing what we're doing is like a free trial. Like you have an offer. Your offer is, if you work with me, I'm going to show you that I can sell your home, and all expenses are paid and covered on me, and I truly get paid on close. Am I hearing that right?
It's funny you mention that, because when you two were talking about that before the podcast about the free trial and how Sharon advised you to do that, I've called a lot of ISA companies, and I've called companies in the past, and I've even instead of coaching, I've talked to mentors, and I said, you know how much potential I have. You can see my stats. You can see that I'm all over the place and I still do a ton of business. So why would you not want to mentor me and get a percentage of what I make over just a monthly fee? Or why would you not, the same exactly like what you said, why not prove first? So that's exactly the way I do it. And I leave the house saying, if you want to work with me, give me a call, let me know, then we'll discuss the next steps and we'll get the listing agreement signed. And yeah, I lose business to that. Of course, because then you might get an agent come in after me that is very good at closing and gets them to sign at the table. But I want people that want to work with me and that will listen to me and not make our relationship more stressful than it needs to be for no reason.
When you were talking with these people, because you were coming from a high level of abundance, your mindset, Steve, is like, abundance. It's a story. I don't know if I've shared it here recently, but it's a story where two shoe salesmen go into a country. One says, boss, there's so much opportunity. Nobody has shoes. The other guy goes, oh my God, send me a ship. I got to go home. Nobody has shoes. Right. It's the same problem, but one sees opportunity, one sees scarcity. So you have a mindset, from what I can see on the outside looking in, of absolute abundance. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. As a new agent, maybe you want to kind of take every deal you can get. But when you take on a listing, you want to know that you're going to make money. You're eventually going to get paid for doing a good job. So there's no point in having a bunch of listings on the market that are never going to end up a paycheck.
Where did this level of certainty in I guess it's a level of certainty in yourself, right? There's a level of certainty in yourself that I can find other deals.
So
where did that?
It's interesting. Sure.
Yeah.
I know from Tom Ferry back in like 2017 when I signed up from there, right? He was somehow involved with them, whether it's his friends or whatever, but it could have been, you're new in the business, you start watching YouTube videos. And I remember one of the older, you listen to like the Mike Ferries and those Nightingale, like all those guys. And I remember they used to say, like, I'll just tell you, when I was brand new in the business, I got a lady called me. She wanted to buy a new built townhouse in Oshawa. So I was like pumped. This is going to be my first deal. I was 30 minutes early to the sales office, all suited up, everything like that, agreement signed. Somebody from her family calls me and says, Steve, I recommended her not to buy it. She's not going to show up today because she just got separated. Well, look, I'm here. I showed up. I took out the pen and I signed the papers and I bought that townhouse on the spot, knew nothing about the area, had no idea how I was going to come up with the down payment in just 3 months of like 90 grand, but I just did it and figured it out. And I've always done that since that day. I bought a place in Colombia. I had 2 places in Costa Rica. I sign on the dotted line for things and I just know that it'll happen somehow. It's got to happen. Like there's no other way.
But where, like, I get your level of confidence and certainty in yourself. I get that. I see that. I feel that. Is this just like your belief? Is it your family? Is it how you were raised? Are you reading, watching certain things? Because most people don't have that level of certainty.
Well, I grew up, both parents were badly injured, health problems, so on disability. So, my parents were making like 20 grand a year combined, our family income. There was 3 kids and we were in just a small, like 800 square foot house. So, when I was younger and, I wanted a dirt bike or something because we live in the country, that's what you do here. There was nobody to co-sign. There was nobody to sign. And I always got denied because I was young. So I just knew that when I'm older, I want whatever I want. So I don't really know where it came about. I think taking on the responsibility of basically raising your girlfriend and being her boyfriend at the same time, there just was never an option. I just knew I wanted better. And I just knew that, yeah, you can sit there and dwell and be like, how am I going to come up with the money for this bill or rent or whatever? But that's not going to do it. So if you just go out there, there's opportunity everywhere. So I've just, even sometimes I might be in the back of my head unsure, but I still just keep the positivity up. And it was only about 2 or 3 years ago that I actually started to believe in the universe. Like if you put it out there, I remember business plans. I used to just make a business plan once a year, put all kind of what my goals and stuff were and not look at it for the whole year. And then magically at the end of the year, I'm close to it.
For a lot of people, this is very woo woo, especially the people that are struggling.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck
Wu-Tang.
with.
A lot of people, it's woo woo, and like especially people that are like in moments of scarcity or moments of like not in abundance. Maybe they were in abundance at one point. Like a lot of people were in abundance during 2020 and 2021, especially in the real estate market. But
A lot of new BMWs.
yeah, but and now, you know, a lot of people are getting punched in the mouth. So like it sounds like at an early age, you know, you were punched in the mouth, but like also sounds like things didn't click right away for you. You said about 3 years ago, things really started to click for you. Was there like a pivotal moment where you can kind of share with us if you're open to it, where that was the pivotal moment where you're like, okay, I get it now. I'm living more abundantly. Like things have happened, but you said that, you know, it's like you really started to put things out into the universe and things started to come back to you. So I'm curious to know, was there a pivotal moment where things really started to uptick for you?
No. So what I think is after I got, you know, I joined a boutique brokerage when I started, then I partnered up with a guy there. Then we moved to another brokerage as partners. Then we, you know, went back solo. And I think it was just, I was always looking for the magic pill and there isn't one. And I don't know if there was a pivoting moment. I used to go to every conference. I coached with Tom Ferry, coached with Richard Robbins. I go to all the conferences, and I think I'm a social guy. So I like to meet new people. So I think just building relationships like that and referring business, even in areas that I could service easily, people feel like they owe you something back in return. So I don't know if there was ever a pivotal moment. It was just looking at other agents. Like I remember I seen an agent on stage at a conference saying she made 250. And I was like, oh my God, imagine I made 250. Next year I was there. And then next thing you know, you're 5, then you're 7. And it's just kind of like, but nothing really feels different. It doesn't feel any better now making like 750 than it did making 100. Like it's just, I just buy more stuff. And I'm always in a situation where I've overcommitted to things. And there's never a minute where I sit back and it's like, all right, there's money in the bank. Like I can relax. It's always more stuff coming up that I still don't know how I'm going to survive it. And it's either going to get to a point one day where everything, you know, just goes like down and I'm just like, oh, damn, here I'm bankrupt, or I'll just keep going. And my girlfriend, everybody says to me all the same time, like, you're almost 32. You got to stop taking these risks. You got kids and stuff now. And I said, I can't. Like, I can't stop. It's always worked out so far. So it always has to work out.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, bro.
The way I look at it is at any time, if things got too bad, you could just throw in the towel and start back at square one. And I think if you're not afraid to just start back at square one, then what do you have to lose, right?
Yeah, man. Like I just appreciate the fact that you are so open to sharing this, because this market, there's a couple of takeaways, and I don't know how we're doing on time here, but there's a couple of takeaways that I've captured from this conversation that I think are important to draw out. One is, you started out, you weren't a rock star. You struggled, and because of that struggle, you decided to take matter. You took control of your life, and you said, I'm going to learn from as many people as I want. You hired the coach, you went to the events, you implemented, and you still say, like, I'm a scatterbrainer. I'm still all over the place. I don't have all my shit together. You don't need to be perfect to be successful. You just need to start taking imperfect action.
Right. And one thing I'll add to that is when I started, when I very first started for a few months there, like I was still involved in my kind of business before real estate. But then that ran out. Government got involved. Government it's legal. So you make good money, like obviously whatever, but I just, there was no, I don't know. I just decided like full time, like there's nothing else. How anyone can say that they do real estate part-time, I just don't understand.
This, yeah, no, it's impossible. The second takeaway. So the first takeaway is you started to learn, right? You realized there was a problem and you realized that you could own the problem, right? So it's not that the market shifted. It's not that the government did this or the government did that or this happened or that happened. It's simply, hey, there's transactions happening in my community. Other people are doing them. I can do them. Maybe it wasn't your thought process, but you took action. You first owned the problem and then you took action. Right. And you've never stopped taking action. And even though you've pivoted multiple times across the way, I'm sure, was there ever a time in your life where you were like, oh my God, why did I hire this person and I haven't learned a single thing at all?
Oh, I've so many times. Employees, all of a sudden last year I had like 4 employees on my payroll and I wasn't even telling any of them what to do. I was just paying them for no reason because I'm,
So let me ask you a follow-up question to that, because I've talked to people that are like, oh my God, that I bought a CRM and it's $5,000 for the year. And I'm such an idiot. And I'm like, you made $250K last year. Like you made one bad choice. Was it in good faith? Yes. And they sit there and they dwell on it and and you can see it literally eating them up, that they become almost frozen to make more decisions. Like you make a bad choice. I mean, like what happens? How many weeks do you spend like in bed eating bonbons?
Right. I was paying my assistant last year $80,000 a year just because I figure the more you pay, they're going to be more motivated to help you. Like I believe in sometimes I can be a little too generous. And then, I've had people that I was like, yeah, it's, not working out, but I just believe in giving and you get back. And if you treat people good, like, come on, you get it back.
Yeah. Wrapping up here, Steve. If somebody were to want to reach out to you and they were to want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing locally, because I think there's a lot of agents in small markets that could learn a lot from like what you're doing in a smaller market as well. Like you said, 60,000 people, a lot of agents we speak to are in smaller markets. Like Peterborough is a smaller market right next door to you. Where's the best place that we can send them to reach out to you? Maybe it's an agent to agent referral. Maybe they just want to have a conversation with you. Where's the best spot we can direct them?
Either Steven Sarasin on Facebook or at Steven Sarasin on Instagram. That's the best spots.
Damn, so easy. Not 15 different links. That's great. Boom. And Steven, this was a ton of fun. Like we had a ton of fun today, and yeah, it was like, man, like just the mindset that you have towards like taking risk. Like I have a fundamental belief that like failure, like risk is what got us to where we are in business. It's the continual risk that we take in business that's going to allow us to go to that next level. And sometimes things bomb. I've had things bomb as well personally. And it just is. And once you fail, you have nowhere to go but up. So I just want to say thank you to the bottom of my heart. I know that Vikram echoes that same sentiment. Thank you for just sharing with us today. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.